How can a good and just God exist in a world with so much suffering? This is a common question posed by many atheists and Christians alike, and it has been debated throughout history. The problem with suffering is that it seems unjust. It seems like unnecessary evil on the surface. And for the longest time, most Christians would say something like, God works in mysterious ways, which is fair, but it's not a great answer. But it turns out that that is not the answer that a true theologian would give. So let's take a look at how different historical figures would answer this question, from St. Thomas Aquinas to modern atheists like Richard Dawkins. Let's start with the problem of evil. The traditional problem of evil or suffering is often framed like this. If God is all good, all powerful, and all-knowing, why does suffering and evil exist? If he is all-powerful, he would eliminate it. If he's all-knowing, he knows about it. So why doesn't he? Let's first look at St. Thomas Aquinas. St. Thomas Aquinas was born in 1225. Aquinas, who was a Dominican priest and theologian, tackled this very question in the Summa Theologica. Aquinas' argument is that evil is a privation. For Aquinas, inspired by St. Augustine, evil is not a thing or substance, but a privation, a lack of good that should be there. God created everything good, and evil arises when creatures misuse their free will and move away from the divine good. Thus, suffering is not a created thing, but a consequence of free will and imperfection in mortal beings. In the Summa Theologica, St. Thomas Aquinas says, evil is the privation of good. It is not an entity, but the lack of a due perfection. So why does God allow suffering? God permits evil to bring about greater good. This is known as the greater good defense. Suffering can lead to virtue, redemption, and divine justice. The main example would be the crucifixion. The greatest evil produced the greatest good, which is salvation. So for Aquinas, God's goodness and omnipotence are not contradicted by evil, because evil is parasitic on good and ultimately ordered towards higher divine ends. St. Augustine, born in 354, had a similar view to St. Thomas Aquinas and inspired St. Thomas Aquinas. Augustine's views deeply shaped Aquinas's. He also stated that evil is a privation of good, not an independent force. Suffering entered the world through human free will, or the fall of man. God allows it to respect our freedom and to teach, correct, or bring souls back to him. God judged it better to bring good out of evil than to suffer no evil to exist. From Enchiridion 27. Fyodor Dostoevsky, born in 1821, puts forth the problem of innocent suffering. In The Brothers Karamazov, the character Ivan Karamazov rebels against God not because he doesn't exist, but because of the suffering of innocent children. Ivan's argument is this: even if eternal harmony exists, no future justification can excuse the torture of even one innocent soul. He says he returns his ticket to a universe built on such suffering. Dostoevsky's point is both psychological and moral. It's not that God can't exist, but that such a God would be morally unbearable. To quote, "I don't accept the world he created. It's not God that I don't accept, it's his world." End quote. This reflects an emotional atheism, not the denial of God's existence per se, but a rejection of his moral terms. Friedrich Nietzsche, born in 1844, saw suffering as essential to life and misinterpreted by Christianity. For him, Christianity inverted values, making weakness, pity, and suffering virtues. He believed that humans must embrace suffering as part of the will to power, the creative force that drives life. The death of God meant that man must now face suffering without the metaphysical consolation. To live is to suffer, to survive is to find meaning in the suffering. From Thus Spoke Zarathustra. In essence, Nietzsche does not deny suffering. He reinterprets it as a necessary condition for growth and greatness, rather than evidence used against God. So what do modern atheists say, and what do modern Christians say to this very question? Modern atheists, largely led by thinkers like Richard Dawkins, follow arguments laid forth by David Hume and Darwin, and the core argument is that natural suffering reflects a godless world. To quote River Out of Eden, "The universe we observe has precisely the properties we should expect. If there is, at bottom, no design, no purpose, no evil, and no good. Nothing but blind, pitiless indifference." This is the naturalistic answer. Suffering exists because evolution is indifferent. There is no cosmic justice, only survival mechanisms. Now, many modern Christian thinkers, like Alvin Plantinga, propose the free will defense. God allows free beings, thus evil, because genuine love and goodness requires freedom. A world with free will and suffering is better than a world with no free will and no suffering. Plantinga's work, God, Freedom, and Evil in 1974, essentially resolved the logical problem of evil, though the emotional problem remains. The problem of suffering is still a widely debated topic, and I'll give you my answer. I think suffering is the price we pay for free will, joy, and a continued adventure of self-improvement. Let me know what you think in the comments. Do you think innocent suffering disproves the existence of God? Let me know below.